Coco Gauff went silent. But it wasn't because she couldn't speak up. It was because she was planning the biggest fight back in tennis history. The night ended in silence. No interviews, no tweets, no statements. Just quiet. But that quietness was the calm before the storm. Because the next morning, the sports world woke up to one headline that shook everything. Coco Gauff files a $50 million lawsuit against Fox Sports. Not a rumor, not speculation, a real legal strike. From a 19-year-old who decided enough is enough. This wasn't about money. It was all about respect. For too long, commentators have blurred the line between analysis and attack, turning athletes into easy targets for ratings and ridicule. But this time, the target fired back. Coco didn't argue, she didn't explain. She went straight for the truth, backed by law, not emotion. And in doing so, she didn't just change the conversation. She flipped the balance of power between athlete and media forever. Because when you're underestimated long enough, silence becomes your sharpest weapon. And Coco Gauff just used hers to make sports history. But what exactly did that Fox Sports host say that turned a broadcast into a $50 million disaster? It happened live, prime time. National coverage, millions watching. Fox Sports was doing what it always does. Pre-match analysis, highlight reels, predictions. But then the host decided to do something different, something reckless. Instead of breaking down Coco's serve or her footwork, he went after her maturity, her attitude, her legitimacy. On live television, he said Coco's wins were more hype than skill, that she was emotional, overrated, and not built for greatness. Every word dripping with arrogance, not analysis, but insult. It wasn't commentary, it was character assassination. And the worst part, he said it with a smile, like humiliating a 19-year-old champion was just part of the show. For a few seconds, the studio went quiet, that uncomfortable silence where everyone knows a line's been crossed. Then the segment ended, the cameras cut, and the world moved on, or so they thought. But Coco didn't. She didn't tweet, she didn't rant, she didn't even flinch publicly. She walked off court, handled her interviews, and stayed calm. To the world, it looked like she'd let it go. But behind that silence, something was building. Something bigger than anger. Because Coco Gauff wasn't plotting revenge. She was preparing accountability. And while that Fox Sports host went home thinking his words would vanish in the next news cycle, he had no idea that those sentences, those careless, cutting words, were about to become the most expensive lines ever spoken on live TV. What came next wasn't damage control. It was a movement. It took less than an hour. The clip, that 30-second broadcast, hit social media and the internet went nuclear. Within minutes, timelines were flooded. Hashtag defend Coco and hashtag respect the game climbed to the top of global trends. Fans were furious. They replayed the clip over and over, dissecting every smirk, every tone, every word that cut deeper than analysis ever should. Comments poured in from every corner of the world. People who didn't even watch tennis suddenly had something to say. But it wasn't just fans. Players, real champions, started speaking up. Serena Williams, Naomi Osaka, Ons Jabeur, each one voicing what everyone was thinking. Enough. Journalists, too, joined the storm. Some called it disgraceful. Others called it a turning point for sports broadcasting. Even rival networks couldn't resist replaying the moment frame by frame, turning one host's arrogance into an international embarrassment. In minutes, the clip turned into more than outrage. It became a global debate about respect, responsibility, and how far commentary should go before it crosses into cruelty. The pressure was mounting. Fox Sports scrambled to turn off replies, limit comments, delete posts. But it was too late. The internet does not forget. The clip was everywhere. TikTok edits, YouTube breakdowns, even meme accounts joined in. And through it all, Coco Gauff said nothing. No statements, no reactions, just silence. But that silence wasn't weakness, it was precision. Because while the world was talking, Coco was planning. And what she was planning would turn outrage into one of the most powerful legal moves in sports history. When Coco Gauff finally broke her silence, she didn't do it with words. She did it with paperwork, filed in federal court, clear, precise, and devastating. Defamation, emotional distress, professional harm. 3 charges that hit harder than any serve she's ever delivered. The lawsuit was a masterclass in control. No fiery press conferences, no emotional pleas, just cold, methodical precision. Every quote, every timestamp, every word from that Fox Sports segment was dissected and cataloged, proof that this wasn't a personal grudge. It was a case. Because Coco Gauff wasn't acting out of rage. This wasn't rage. It was strategy. Her statement said it best. This is about fairness, not fame. About integrity, not influence. The message was clear. This wasn't about punishing one man's bad take. It was about drawing a line between criticism and cruelty, between commentary and character assassination. And then came the number, 50 million. Not for revenge, not for greed, but as a symbol, a price tag on respect. Because when a billion-dollar network tries to profit off humiliation, the only language it understands is money. And she made sure they'd never forget what hers was worth. When the lawsuit hit the press, you could almost feel the shockwave ripple through the industry. PR teams froze, producers went silent, networks that had laughed at her now triple-checked every script before going live. Because if Coco Gauff could take down Fox Sports, then no one was untouchable anymore. And behind closed doors, every executive started asking the same question. Are we next? But Coco wasn't finished yet. The shockwave she started was about to reshape how the entire sports world talks, forever. The lawsuit didn't just shake Fox Sports. It sent tremors through the entire industry. Within days, quiet panic spread across every major sports network. Internal memos started leaking, executives ordered emergency meetings. Producers handed out new commentary conduct guidelines, warning on-air talent to watch their tone and stay factual. One leaked email from a rival network said it all. No more personal attacks. No speculation on character. Stay in your lane. For years, broadcasters had thrived on shock value, the cheap thrill of saying something outrageous to spark engagement. But Coco's lawsuit changed the rules overnight. Now, every host knew there were boundaries, and crossing them didn't just risk backlash. It could cost millions. Meanwhile, outside the boardrooms, something remarkable happened. Sponsors started lining up behind Coco. Nike praised her professionalism. New Balance released a statement calling her a model of composure under fire. Even companies that had no tie to tennis used her story in their campaigns, turning Coco Gauff into the face of athlete empowerment. She didn't plan to start a movement, but that's exactly what happened. For every young player who'd been mocked on live TV, every athlete told to toughen up and stay quiet, Coco became their voice. Her silence had become her strength. Her lawsuit had become a symbol, and her name, once just associated with raw talent, was now synonymous with accountability.
Oh, it's incredible!
Reporters stopped asking, is she overreacting? And started asking, why did it take this long? The ripple spread far beyond tennis. Soccer players, gymnasts, even basketball stars began speaking up about disrespectful media treatment. The message was universal. The old power dynamic was gone. Because in one move, Coco Gauff reminded the world that athletes aren't just subjects of commentary. They're human beings with voices, rights, and limits. But what truly changed wasn't policy. It was power. And that power shift would carry Coco into a whole new chapter. One that had nothing to do with the scoreboard and everything about legacy. While the headlines blazed and networks scrambled, Coco Gauff did what she's always done. She showed up and played. No public breakdowns, no fiery interviews, just pure focus. And the results spoke louder than any statement ever could. She kept winning, match after match. Each victory felt like a message. You can't shake someone who knows her worth. Reporters tried to bait her into comments about the lawsuit, but Coco stayed composed, calm, professional, untouchable. When she finally did speak, her words hit deeper than any serve she's ever hit. I showed people what it's like to be human, she said quietly. I have bad days. I make mistakes, but I also get back up, and that's what matters. It wasn't just a quote. It was a philosophy. In a world obsessed with perfection, Coco showed that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength. She wasn't just an athlete anymore. She had become something bigger, a movement, a mirror for every young player learning that grace under pressure can be just as powerful as grit on the court. Her silence had become her strategy, her composure had become her weapon, and her story had become a blueprint for every athlete tired of being disrespected for the sake of ratings.
Because in the end, Coco didn't just win a case. She redefined what it means to compete with dignity. She proved that being human isn't weakness, it's strength. So now, the question isn't about the lawsuit anymore. It's about legacy. Did Coco Gauff go too far, or did she finally set a boundary that was long overdue? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you believe athletes deserve more than just applause, hit subscribe for more stories that prove athletes are more than stats. They're human.